Hilarious.
All right. And we are live.
Great.
So-
Well, welcome. Good morning,
Welcome.
everybody.
So today we're welcoming Gregg Bossen to our community. He's a QuickBooks expert and nonprofit guru, helping thousands of bookkeepers and organizations master their finances. And he's bringing his expertise to us. Deb has known him for years, so get ready. This is going to be a fun time here.
If we even get to talking about bookkeeping, that will be a...
Yes.
Now, Greg, how long have we known each other?
I just met you like a week ago. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any idea how long. It's weird. I don't remember life before Deb, actually.
I remember when I first met you. You were teaching in Orlando in a big ballroom, QuickBooks desktop on how to do stuff. And there were tables and tables and tables. And you were going on in your manner. Have you ever seen Greg speak? He's funny and he really is entertaining along with giving you a lot of information. So somebody asked the question about, well, how do you know what what is happening, the debits and the credits are behind the scenes? And you said, well, I don't know. And I raised my hand. I know. You hit Control Y.
Oh, yeah.
And you went, yeah, and you hit, and you go, oh, look at that, Control Y. And the whole time during that class, I'm interrupting and helping you along.
Well, it's funny you would say that because there was a session, I guess it was not long after that, but I was trying to show a group and I was like, I knew that it was Control something and I didn't know what it was. So Control A, Control B.
Of course, it had to be Y if you went through all the letters of the alphabet.
All the way at the end. I think that Orlando class, I did a class where I was supposed to, it wasn't that one, but it was a class where we were supposed to talk about pricing, what are accountants supposed to be charging and stuff like that. And I guess it was somewhere in the lines of how to have a successful practice. One of those, I don't know, BS classes is my view. But anyway, I remember somebody was asking, they were real angry. And they're like, well, why is it that CPAs can charge so much more per hour than regular bookkeepers, And I was like, because we can. I don't know what to say. Well, and she got so mad at me.
She can charge whatever she wants. There's no rule that a bookkeeper, I charge actually, I don't advertise that I'm a CPA. I just tell people I do bookkeeping. I charge more than CPAs in town because I'm really good. I mean, they're not paying for the letters behind my name. They're paying for the expertise I bring. So charge what you think you're worth.
That's the irony about it, because it's frequently the CPAs are the ones that know the least about how to do things in QuickBooks anyway.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They know how to do a tax return. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure because Greg, Greg has a nonprofit practice and he teaches nonprofit. You have this firm called QuickBooks Made Easy where you do webinars. Tell about that.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of two things. I do have an accounting practice and all we do is nonprofit stuff. So audits, bookkeeping, 990s. I used to do a lot of individual tax returns. I don't anymore, which is so wonderful. I cannot tell you how I went out of town last week. I could never have done that during tax season.
I texted Greg last week and I said, you never called me back. Because, well, I'm in London.
Yeah, I went to London last week.
I just decided, I called him this morning. Oh, I spent a couple days in London. What? How come I wasn't invited? All right, we'll go next time.
I was apologizing my way through the streets of London when everyone found out I was an American. I had to apologize right afterwards. It's kind of a thing now. But anyway, so then I also have QuickBooks Made Easy, which is a training company. And all we do is teach nonprofits how to use QuickBooks. And we have webinars, and we have live seminars, and we have training products that we have. We have tech support agreements, and it's just QuickBooksMadeEasy.com, but it's actually QuickBooks Made Easy for nonprofits. But so we get people calling us that think they're calling QuickBooks. Actually, that happens because I guess QuickBooks is in the name, which is a thing, by the way.
It's surprising that they let you keep it in the name because they really sometimes don't like that.
Well, I got permission from their legal department like 20 years ago.
I know, because you've been a trainer with them, what, years?
A long time. Long time. Like, I've been teaching QuickBooks for like, I don't know, probably 25 years now or something like that. But I started teaching for real world training. I don't know if y'all have heard of that. But,
I have, yeah.
Yep.
They're like in bed with QuickBooks, I think, with Intuit. So I think that they're like the official training company or whatever. And David O'Brien, who runs it, and Brad White used to work there, and Trevor Matheson. Do you know those people?
No, I don't know them.
Trevor, you would love Trevor. He's hilarious. David's really cool too.
Now,
What about you?
You would travel with like MB Ramondi and Michelle Long and Stacy Kildall and Bryce.
Yeah, there used to be like in the old days, there was like the
Laura
accountant.
Madeira.
We would travel around the country and teach the new software. And there was like 8 of us or something. And we would go and we would travel all over the country and teach. And it was really very exciting. It was cool. And then at the end we would teach accountants, and there'd be like 200-300 accountants in each class. And then at the end, we would literally give them the software. Everybody would get the software on the way out the door.
Wow.
In a disc. So that was a whole
Discs. Were the discs like this when they started?
No, they were floppy disks. Floppy disks. People don't even know what that means anymore. Well,
that's how old we are. Or remember the hard disk, the 3.5, the ones that would stick in the thing,
The little square ones?
Yeah, square ones.
Yeah. No, but the older ones were.
Yeah, they were the big.
They were floppy.
Yeah.
About that accountant update tour, so it was Mary Beth Monday, and she does a lot of teaching. Laura Madeira, myself, Joe Woodard, Stacy
Kildall. Yeah.
Is she the one with the purple hair?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Dawn Brolin. She was actually a newbie. She was a newbie. And then there were, I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of others.
Michelle
anyway, yes, Michelle Long. And we would have this train the trainer thing where we would gather in Plano, Texas, and we would hang out for like 3 days, and we would, you would plan everything you were going to teach. And first of all, nobody really paid attention to what happened during those 3 days. Because once you're gone, you're on your own. So it's kind of like, well, whatever. I'm teaching the way I'm going to teach. Screw y'all, But the other thing is, egos. Oh my God, the fights people would get in.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. It was hilarious. Hilarious. I think there's people that still don't talk to each other since then.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because, people that are teachers, they're all very egotistical, except for us.
Except for me and you. Yeah, you have to understand, Greg and I, about a couple years ago, before COVID, we would travel around the country teaching desktop. This was in the desktop days. We would teach how to do nonprofits quick. It was an all-day session. We've been to New York City, New Orleans, Nashville, and Portland, Seattle. I think we went to Texas one time. I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
Absolutely the best time I've ever had. And it was so funny because, I actually drove to Tampa because he goes, well, I think you'd be good at this, but I'm really not sure. I said, well, how can I show you? Well, why don't you come to Tampa and do it? All right. So I drove to Tampa. And he's saying, you can teach this section. So the night before, he went over line by line by line about how I'm supposed to actually do it.
Which she ignored
Which I
completely.
ignored. And he's like in the back, flailing his arms, and so I said to him, did the message get across? Well, yeah. So who cares if I said it how you want me to he goes, oh, you're right. So we would go to all of these places, and Gregg has Delta mileage, first class trips, and he'd stick me in the cargo section.
That is true.
And
That is not true.
it is true. I remember. But then he would say, oh, I want to go over everything with you. So he had a first class seat, and he'd come in the back, and he'd say to the person sitting next to me, would you like to sit in first class because I want to sit next to her? So somebody always got his first class ticket, and we'd go over say it like this and say it like this and say it like this. And I just nod. Okay. And then I'd go do what I wanted to do anyway. And we had the best time. But I think the best one, remember when we were I forget where we were. And you were talking about the bank feeds. Do you remember that?
Because obviously those have cleared. So I didn't know that. So she showed me, you were like, push that button. And I'm like, no, that's not going to do anything. And she's like, yes, it will. So she corrected me like while I'm in the middle of teaching. But that wasn't the funniest thing.
Well, the funny thing was, so I said to them, now before you press it, it only works once. If you undo it and then try to press it again, it will not work. It only works one time. So he pressed it, it worked. And of course, he's behind me at like the podium with the laptop. And so I'm watching the class. It was maybe about 30 people, 40 people.
Yeah.
And they're watching me, watching him, watching me. And I see them all look over to him, and I see him, and something happened. He didn't say anything. And I said, he just tried to do it, didn't he? And they all cracked up.
I tried to push it again. And then try and push it again.
Right. I mean, it was hilarious. I mean,
because I wanted to check what she had done.
Exactly. I told you, I know what I'm talking about. So we had the best time. I mean, and anywhere we would travel, in the evenings, we would go visit the city. So when we went to see where Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated one night. And one night, I think we were in Portland. We walked around, and there was a girl with a typewriter. Tell about that.
So, yeah, I've seen this on the streets. It's like these kind of young, kind of like cool kids that are like, maybe they're in college in English or something. And they're like, one of the assignments is, do a poem for somebody on the spot. And so she had this old timey typewriter from the 50s or whatever. And you would tell her about yourself. And then she would type a poem just without stopping, and give it to you. Have you ever seen that, Donna? Have you ever seen that out on the street?
I have not. And I live like in LA. So.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. But so me and her got a poem like that, which I should frame. I don't know where it is.
He kept it. He was so touched. I think tears were coming to his eyes, And
it was great.
It was really great.
I was messed up that night. But then COVID happened, and now it's
he does it all online.
Yeah. I mean, traveling is fun initially, but after like 10 or 15 years of doing 17 to 20 cities a year, it's like enough already.
Well, you have to understand, he was going to have me take over for him. And I was going to travel with David because I don't want to travel anymore. I want you to do it. I'm tired of traveling. So anyway, he went with me the first few times to make sure I knew what I was doing. And he said, I'm having so much fun with you. I'm going to keep this up and let David stay home. So we went to New York City, and then we'd also go to the town and visit it. And then we'd also go to a really fancy restaurant for dinner.
Always.
I mean, remember we went to a place that actually was on one of those cooking shows, and we actually had the dish they highlighted, the duck. Remember the duck?
Yeah.
The flaming duck?
Yeah.
And we'd always get, we both don't really drink, but we would always get a Manhattan with the square ice cube.
One big rock.
One big rock.
And it's actually an old fashioned. It's an old fashioned.
Old fashioned, yeah. So we got this old fashioned, and it was a smoking one, and they brought it to us with this cloche on top, and they lifted it up, and the smoke comes out. And we had the best time, And remember, we went to Nashville and stayed at Elvis Presley's, the hotel that's all revolves around Elvis Presley.
Yeah. What is it? What's that called in Nash?
I don't know.
Ghettoland. Opera. Not opera. I don't know what it is, but
Graceland.
They had the stairs where we walked down. So we walked down the stairs. I swear to God, we had the best time traveling like that. And now he comes. So now he comes to see me in Florida, and I'm going to fly up there to see him in Atlanta. And when we're together.
Travel just for fun, because it doesn't make sense to teach live anymore now that everybody's cool with webinars. It's so much better than dealing with live, although teaching live can be really fun.
And that was in desktop days. Now, you are not an online user. You were
not so much, because I was teaching what everybody used, which was desktop. So then I have like 5 people come to my live class that were in online. And I'd be like, I don't know what to tell these people. I'd have to sit with them during lunch or something. And I act like I'm teaching them. It's like, you know more than I do. Like, let me look around here. I have no clue. Now, we don't even teach desktop anymore. We stopped this year, which I feel a little bad about. But honestly, it's easier because everything I taught, I had to teach twice. Now, I'm just teaching it once, and everybody's moving from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online because they have to. In fact, I think QuickBooks Desktop 2022 is just going to not work anymore after May.
Well, they have to get a subscription, and
if you didn't renew your subscription, 2022, I believe, may still work. But it won't work anymore after May.
Right, because that's the first year they went to subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
21 will still work, but it doesn't get any updates.
Do either of y'all have any clients on desktop?
Yeah, I've 2.
Nope, I don't do
desktop. Donna has never worked in desktop.
Well, what do you do? What do you do about a client that you just do once a year? And they give you their stuff, and you just do it once a year, and that's it. Are you talking about a nonprofit, or are you talking about anybody? I usually put them in Ledger. Well, what? QuickBooks Ledger. QuickBooks Ledger. It's $10 a month. I put them in. Never heard of that. Oh my God!
It's wonderful.
I'm glad you came.
What is it? Is it an online product?
Yeah, it's an online product that only accountants can buy. And it's specifically, there's no customers, there's no bills. It's basically cash in, cash out. So if you have a tax return you got to do, for example. Now, a nonprofit's a little more complicated. But it's... You buy it just for the month that you're doing the work? You can. I have, yeah.
Yep.
So if I do a tax return comes in, and I need to get the tax return done, and they're not an ongoing client, meaning they just once. I buy Ledger, get their bank statements, because that's where all the activity happens. Scan them, which then I can use Adobe to Excel, upload it with Sasan. Scan means
yes, that's scan.
Scan them, then I do Adobe, and I upload them. Upload using Sasan because I've already classified, and do all my magic, and then I can quickly produce the tax return, map the fields, and it's like magic. And then I can turn it off. I've then I can cancel it. I don't need it anymore. And then if I need it next year, I just turn it on again.
I'll have to talk to Carol about that because the alternative is that you just use 2021 desktop.
Right.
Because
Now,
I'm getting an online subscription for something I use once a year.
yes.
Although, but I think you can like sign up for 1 month on VO and then like disable it, cancel it, and it's
Yes,
still
you can
there.
do that too. If you want it, you can do that too, where you sign them up, you make you the primary, and then if they're on plus, you have to make sure though that you get the work done in 30 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what's the worst that can happen? You just pay for the month.
Okay, well that solves that problem. So, do you guys do any individual taxes anymore?
Yes.
You don't. Aren't you
I
excited?
don't do taxes, man.
Well, let me tell you. Now you can just cheat with reckless abandon. Nobody's ever going to catch you because nobody's going to work there anymore. They're firing everybody.
I know.
So I'm really excited about that. I've been advising my clients to cheat with reckless abandon. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Unless you want to if you pay too much in and you're trying to get a refund, that might be a problem.
This is an opportunity. Okay, just think about this. Every challenge is an opportunity, in my opinion. So now with them firing all these agents, we don't know what that is, and that's going to be customer support, blah, blah. All the more reason to have an accountant that knows what they're doing to make sure you don't pay in too much tax, because who knows if they're going to be there to be able to process your refund, and make sure you pay in enough. Because
have you tried to call them lately, the IRS? I'd
rather have a root canal than call the IRS.
I don't mind a root canal. I had a root canal last year.
They give you that nice gas.
I had gas. I highly recommend them. Well, we've got about 8 minutes left, and you said that you had a couple of questions.
Yeah, Greg wanted to. He listens to our podcast. He goes, "I want to answer questions from people." I said, "Okay." So we found a couple of questions we thought Greg would like. Did we ask you about the service date one? The one about the dates?
Yeah, do the service date.
Do that one. I would love to know how everyone dates. This is from the nonprofit group. How everyone dates their transactions when they enter their bills into QuickBooks. Do you use the date of the service, the date of the statement, or some other date? We have been dating bills by the service dates. Our organization prefers to close by the end of the next month. Sometimes bills come in after the month is already closed, which causes a problem for how we manage our forecasting. I'd love to hear how other organizations that handle this. So what do you recommend?
Well, I think this person's question is too long. So she's very verbose. No, I also would very much, I need to go out on a date. Speaking of dates. So I was like, I don't want to date. No. Okay. Let's see. Well, those are the things that came to my head. But it's the date the product or service occurred, right? That's the date that you want. Because when you look at a P&L for a month, you want to know the expenditures occurring in that month, regardless of whether or not you paid those bills.
Right.
So therefore, it would be the date that the service or the product occurred. And there's always this immediate question of, well, what about if it's like a utility bill? Because it goes over a period of time and it starts January 15th and it ends February 14th. Well, of course, then you just have to kind of pick a date, like the big first date of the period or the last date of the period, and then do that every single month as long as you get 12 months in.
That's right. I remember I had a client one time that he wanted me to do a true up for the end. I'm thinking there are 12 utility bills. They don't significantly change.
Yes.
So I said, I'm not doing that. I mean,
Right.
the materiality of it is minor.
Right.
And there's 12 of them. It's not like you get an extra one. I mean, stuff happens. But I think her question, like, what if somebody sends you the month? So this is now March, and they close the bills in April, but they don't get a March or April bill till May. Well, first off, what kind of stupid vendor is that doesn't want to be paid?
Yeah.
So
It seems like an exception. You don't want the exceptions to rule the day. I mean,
Right.
what I would do is I would backdate it to the right month.
me too.
But that freaks people out because they're like, once we give it to the board or once we report it, we can't change it. Really?
It's minor.
You think a board member is going to be like, well, let's see, office supplies at the end of May was $200 for the year to date, and at the end of June it's $250, but there was only $25 of expense. So you must have changed an old month. I mean, nobody's going to.
Yeah, the only time it matters on that is if when you're doing the audit. That's a real line in the sand. But
Well,
yeah,
even on an audit, the materiality, I do audit. So even on an audit, the materiality is too. Do you accrue vacation?
no.
I don't either. I don't understand.
Wage. I mean, it's not like, if someone doesn't use, it's an extra, like in our firm, if Mary doesn't use her vacation, we'll pay her out. She can take it as a 3 weeks of pay. So,
but to me, it's like the utility. At the end of the year, when I'm doing the audit, there'll be a certain amount of vacation that hasn't been taken yet. And that's the same every year. It'll be different. It won't be enough to make it material.
Right.
Why put yourself through that nightmare?
Right. So I think that, I think a lot of bookkeepers want books to be perfect, and perfect books are expensive, and, if you're in the office, you could probably accrue it and all that stuff. But I know, because I do a lot of audits, I do books and have auditors come in. And I always ask him, I said, what's important to you? He goes, you're always close enough. Close, it works. It works in accounting and horseshoes, close enough.
Close enough.
It's good enough. It's not a material difference. And the material means people that are making decisions on what you're doing, will it really significantly change what decision they make because you made this quote, it's not perfect.
Right.
Like on the bill that didn't come in for the lawn guy, it's $200. Okay, it's a $10 million company. Is this $200 going to make a diff?
Right.
Now the other thing you could do, if you get particular bills, like at this one company I would deal with, they get a lawn bill every month, and I go down I said, we never got a bill from the landscape guy. Did you fire him? No, he never sent the bill. Well, I didn't. Okay, great. Maybe he forgot, and we can get free lawn service. The next month he made it up. I dated it for the correct month, and then we can see exactly, but I knew what to look for. So if you have a list of bills, we never got the bill from blah, blah. But how much time what are they paying you, and how much time do you want to spend?
It's typical. Somebody who's really into accounting is going to want to be perfect. So I do get that. But yeah, no, it's a complete waste of time. But it reminds me, you were talking about free lawn care. I don't know how this happened. I hired this guy, Andulio, and his crew, and they were coming out and doing the lawn stuff, and they would never bill me. And they were doing my neighbor too, my across the street neighbor and my next door neighbor. They would never bill me. And I'm like, you need to give me a bill. And then I had this whole redo done, and he like re-landscaped and put trees and plants. He must have spent thousands, and he never sent me a bill, and I never saw him. But his workers would come. And they would, every week, they'd maintain everything, and they would never charge any of us. And it turned out he had a problem. He was on drugs or alcohol or something. And he came one day and he said, oh, I'm better now, and I'm going to send you a bill. And then he never did. This was in 2017 that this happened. To this day, we are all three still getting free lawn service. Never paid. And we've never seen Andulio, but his workers come every week.
Right, great.
Now, we can't complain. If anything's wrong, we just don't say anything.
Okay.
Yep.
But we haven't paid since 2017.
That's going to be a doozy. If that guy were hiring a bookkeeper, he would.
You need to invoice. It's like a really important part of the whole business thing.
I know we had the same thing. I put in a recurring transaction every week. It would go in at like $75, and I finally look. I said, guys never sent the bill. And Hal goes, like that. And then every week, where's the bill? Where's the bill? Where's the bill? You know, and of course, then he didn't want to pay a merchant service fee.
Who? Your husband?
The lawn guy. He finally caught up. And then he sold it. He sold it. I don't know what for. What revenue. And then the new guy comes in and billed all the back stuff. And then he wanted to charge us a fee because now it was late. No. So we let them go. But I know. So it's a great opportunity to sell your services if you see clients doing, vendors doing that.
I like the way you turned it into your own. See, she's always thinking, Donna. She's always.
I know. It's exhausting.
I'm exhausted. I thought I was supposed to be the guest. I think Deb's spoke about 80% of the time. You never said anything.
Yep. So kind of the ways goes sometimes here.
Okay.
It's like
Deb is fire.
after she'll be like, you gotta let me talk some more. She's like, I'm working on it. We're new, so we get there.
Fortunately, she's interesting. Otherwise, we really.
Well, thank you. But anyway, we're at the time. So I want to thank you, Gregg, for coming on. I know this was a big deal for you to do this. And I was so looking forward to this one because I have to tell you, Gregg is one of my very best friends. And we have more fun than fun when we're together. And we laugh. Anyway, I can't say enough. There's little baby Gregg.
Remember, the takeaway from the show is you can be completely inaccurate in your bookkeeping because it's immaterial. Nobody cares. And you can also cheat on your taxes. All right, that's it.
There you go. Maybe you don't listen to that last one.
All right, well, we'll see you all next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.